This cheap lighter is worth more than an ounce of gold. You think I am joking. I am not, I promise you. Ask the survivors of the siege of Sarajevo. When the grid went down and the banks vanished, the millionaires were the ones who had fire, medicine, and salt. I've analyzed the data from the most brutal systemic collapse of the last 30 years, and the results are terrifying. If you're stacking the wrong things, you aren't preparing. You are just gift wrapping your supplies for somebody else. And here are the 10 rules of the survival economy. History is our teacher. Let's examine. The year, 1992. The place, Sarajevo. A city that went from the Olympics to a graveyard in the blink of an eye. In that world, the currency didn't have presidents on it. It had utility. You've heard the stories of survival, but you haven't heard the rest of the story about what actually kept people alive. If you were standing on a street corner in a collapsing city trying to feed your family, these are the 10 items you would have traded your soul for, ranked from nice to have to absolutely essential. Number 10, ammunition. You'd think that this would be number one. Every movie shows the survivor with a bandolier of lead. But in a real collapse, ammunition is a tragedy. It is the currency of the desperate. Yes, you do need it for defense, but to trade it, that was a gamble. You were arming your neighbor, and in a world without law, your neighbor is a stranger. Ammunition was the high-risk bond of the survival world. It had value, but it could also be the very thing that ended your story. Number 9, hygiene products. We take soap for granted, but in a siege, the lack of it was a silent killer. Lice, skin infections, and disease killed more people than the snipers did. A bar of soap or a box of detergent was not just about cleanliness. It was a little more than about dignity. It was the blue chip stock of the barter market. When everything else felt like it was rotting, the smell of soap was a reminder that you were still human. Number 8, salt. The bankers of ancient Rome were paid in salt, the salarium. In a collapse, we return to the ancients. Without refrigeration, your food has a shelf life of days. With salt, you can preserve the meat. You can cure hides. You can stay alive. It was the hidden asset. It did not look like much, but it was the difference between a full stomach and a slow death. Number 7, coffee. Now, this is where the iBanker side of me gets fascinated. Coffee has zero survival value. It does not heal you. It does not protect you. But in Bosnia, it was one of the most traded items on the list. And why was that? Because coffee is a psychological hedge. It is the ritual of the morning. It is the moment of peace in a world of chaos. People would trade their bread rations for a handful of beans just to feel for 5 minutes like the world hadn't ended. Number 6, batteries. When the grid goes down, the world becomes very small and a very dark place. Batteries were the technology sector of the barter economy. They powered the flashlights and let you navigate your own home. They powered the small radios that were the only link to a world that had forgotten you. A fresh AA battery was worth its weight in silver because it provided the one thing nobody had: information. Number 5, cigarettes. In a high-stress environment of a siege, nicotine became universal small change. You didn't buy a loaf of bread with a gold coin. You bought it with a pack of cigarettes. They were divisible. They were portable. And everybody wanted them. It was a currency built on addiction and stress. The most reliable market in human history, which brings us to closely related number 4, alcohol. Booze was the utility player. High-proof spirits were a disinfectant for the wounded, a fuel for the lamps, and a temporary escape for the brokenhearted. It was the most dangerous item to trade because it attracted the most dangerous people. but its value is indisputable. Number 3, antibiotics. This is where the math gets simple. You have a toothache. In our world, it's a nuisance, but in a collapse, it's a death sentence. A 5-day course of amoxicillin was more valuable than a 10-ounce bar of gold. Why? Because you can't eat gold, and you certainly can't use it to stop sepsis. In the survival economy, medicine was the ultimate insurance policy. Number 2, fuel. Gasoline, diesel, propane. If you had a gallon of fuel, you had power. You could run a generator to charge those batteries at number 6. You could run a small stove to cook that salted meat at number 8. But fuel had a scent. It told everyone within a block that you had something worth taking. It was the most valuable asset in the bank, but it was also dangerous. But that brings us to number 1. The item that outperformed the S&P 500, the price of gold, and every currency on the planet. This guy, the disposable lighter. You see, fire is the foundation of civilization. Without fire, you are a cold, hungry animal in the dark. A single lighter gives you 3,000 strikes. That's 3,000 chances to boil water so you don't die of dysentery. It's 3,000 chances to cook a meal or light a candle. But here's the rest of the story. The reason the lighter was the number 1 asset wasn't just because of fire. It was because it was quiet. In a world of finance, we talk about liquidity. How easily can you move an asset without changing the price? A gold bar has terrible liquidity in a price. It's too loud. You show a gold bar and you are a target. You show a lighter and you're just a guy with a light. You can pull one from your pocket, trade it for a tin of beef, and walk away. Nobody assumes that you have 100 more. It is the perfect, invisible, high utility currency. So, the next time you look at your portfolio, ask yourself, am I building a bank of numbers or am I building a bank of strikes? Because when the system balances its sheets, the man with the gold might be the poorest man on the block, and the man with the lighter might just be king. So don't worry, fellow stackers. We'll be back tomorrow with the proper role of gold in a post-collapse world. But until then, you now know the rest of the story for the top 10 non-precious metal items to stack and why. So build that stack. iBankerU. Good day.